Most people, when they think of Disney villains, usually think of the ones from the animated movies. However, Walt Disney Television Animation has also featured some fantastic villains that do the job of either being wonderfully silly or a legitimate threat to the heroes. And I'm going to name my favorites. A few things first though. I won't include villains introduced in the movies, so that means no Cruella, Hades, Shere Khan, and Yzma. This list will also be in chronological order, rather than numerical, as I actually had trouble ranking these 10 villains. With that out of the way, here are my favorite Disney television animation villains. Magicka Dispel in DuckTales. A witch always out to steal Scrooge's #1 dime and become an all-powerful sorceress, she has proven to be a worthy foe in the 2 DuckTales series. In the 80s show, her constant plans have always provided amusement, and it's great seeing her and Scrooge go toe-to-toe, with the richest duck in the world often using his wits to defeat her. June Foray's excellent voice work also added a further element of fun to the character. And then there's the reboot's take on Magicka, which went for something a lot more creepy and menacing. As voiced by Catherine Tate, she received the most prominence in the first season, when she attempts to infiltrate the mansion using Lena. The animators did a phenomenal job of animating her shadowy appearance, although she had her funny moments too. Whatever DuckTales show you watch, Magicka makes for more than memorable presence. Don Kanaj in Tailspin. It makes sense for a series about pilots working over tropical waters to have air pirates as antagonists, and Don Kanaj proved more than entertaining. He was often portrayed as overly confident in himself, and that added a lot to the enjoyment of the character, and he often provided a decent amount of swordplay. Jim Cummings, in a voice inspired by Desi Arnaz, brought the needed over-the-top pizzazz to Don Kanaj. Anyami Camille has done an excellent job voicing the character in the new DuckTales series too. Don Kanaj was someone who very much fit in with the adventurous, swashbuckling tone of Tailspin. Nega Duck in Darkwing Duck. Like any superhero, Darkwing has his fair share of villains, and I could have picked any of them, including the plant-based bushroot and the electrical megavolt. I went with the obvious pick of Nega Duck, who is the exact opposite of Darkwing. Hailing from a parallel universe, he was unafraid of using any means necessary to take over St. Canard and enjoy being as evil as possible. Jim Cummings made sure to have him sound distinct from Darkwing, dropping his voice down several octaves. His constant schemes were actually quite clever, and that made him a genuine threat for Darkwing Duck and his beloved city, although there were still plenty of laughs too, whenever he showed up. He would of course be defeated at the end of his episodes, but when he said he would be back, you believed him. David Xanatos in Gargoyles. This was a different show than what people were accustomed to seeing from Disney television animation, but it remains fondly remembered for a reason. A frequent adversary for the titular gargoyles, Xanatos was someone obsessed with gaining power and immortality, and would use his wealth to do so, often stooping to immoral means. His plans were often ones of a lot of steps and layers, as he attempted to prove himself as one step ahead of everyone else. His rivalry with Goliath was definitely a major part of the series, and it was great seeing the two interact and confront one another. Jonathan Frakes did a great job of voicing him, as someone often proud of his accomplishments and goals. Any action show deserves a worthy villain, and Xanatos definitely fit the bill. Quint in Timon and Pumbaa. The wacky cartoon approach to the Lion King comic relief spin-off show meant they encountered a number of out-there villains, and Quint was probably the most memorable of the bunch. He would make frequent appearances, each time with a new job, but always with devious intentions. Quint's ridiculous schemes fit perfectly with the tone of the series, and it was funny seeing his overconfidence come into contact with Timon's overconfidence. Additionally, Corey Burton was hilarious in the role. One never knew when he would pop up to annoy Timon and Pumbaa, but whenever he did, it was often an enjoyable episode. Dr. Draken Shigo in Kim Possible. Like Darkwing, our favored world-saving cheerleader has her own rogues gallery, featuring a wild assortment of villains, including a billionaire and his son deciding to take up world domination, and a deranged golfer. However, again, I have to go with her biggest nemesis, along with his number 2. Dr. Draken is a hilarious villain, always coming up with the most elaborate and harebrained schemes, and his frustrations at always losing to a teenager provide laughs. Meanwhile, Shigo is fantastic, with her dry responses to Draken's rants, and the directors choreographed some impressive fight scenes when she battled Kim. The interplay between Draken and Shigo is also brilliantly voiced by John DiMaggio and Nicole Sullivan. The show's scripts were often very intelligent and witty, and in many episodes it's these two who'd get the best lines, and for good reason. The Dark Lord chuckles the silly piggy in Dave the Barbarian. Yes, it's a ridiculous name for a villain, but that's perfectly in fitting with the entire tone of this very underrated Disney cartoon. Paul Rudd provided his voice, and when you hire Rudd to voice your character, you know he's not afraid to truly go out there with his characterization. The contrast of his cute design with his evil plans added to the hilarity of the character. Even if the denizens of Castle Udragoth did not much take him seriously, the little hog still tried his best to take over, whether through magic or technology. His plans were so wacky and out there and creative, you can tell how much the writers enjoyed coming up with plots for him. It's a shame Disney does not seem to care about Dave the Barbarian, because Chuckle's exploits deserve to be seen again. Dr. Doofenshmirtz in Phineas and Ferb. He was probably the most sympathetic villain on this list, as the show was often great at showing why he tried to take over the tri-state area, and it's easy to feel bad for him on multiple occasions. His interactions with Perry the Platypus are frequently hilarious, and Dan Povenmire really captures Dr. Doof's desperation as he makes one Inador after another, only for each one to blow up in his face. Like everyone else on the show, he was given plenty of fun musical numbers and songs, and the peaks at his backstory was also a highlight of many episodes. The unique love-hate relationship between Doofenshmirtz and that secret agent Platypus was great to see unfold. And even though Perry did always try to stop him, there are a few occasions where even he feels some sympathy for him. His roles in the 2 Phineas and Ferb movies were also delightful, with one pairing him with a more successful Doof from an alternate dimension, and the other having fun by putting him and Isabella together. He may not have managed to take over Danville, but he's still a very imaginative pharmacist in my book. Bill Cipher in Gravity Falls. Part of the appeal of the show is seeing the various unusual creatures that turn up in the town of Gravity Falls and encounter the Pines family. Bill Cipher is definitely the most powerful of them all, and his trickster personality makes him somebody not to be trifled with. He's portrayed as cunning and mischievous in his attempts to con people, including Dipper and Mabel, into helping him achieve his ultimate goal. The show's creator, Alex Hirsch, provides his voice, although curiously enough, his original choice was Blue Velvet and Eraserhead director David Lynch. Nonetheless, Hirsch helped make Bill somebody truly devious. It makes perfect sense why he would be the big bad during the 3-part series finale. Whenever he unleashed his powers, the stakes immediately went up for our heroes, that's for sure. And the final Disney television animation villain I'm going to mention is Lord Hater in Wander Over Yonder. This was a delightful animated show from the mind of Craig McCracken that created plenty of amusing, imaginative scenarios out of Wander traveling through space, with almost always a smile on his face. His optimistic spirit made his interactions with the evil Lord Hater all the more hilarious, especially due to his oblivious towards Hater's real actions. It's really funny how much it frustrates him, and there are also plenty of humorous interactions with his second-in-command too. The character ultimately proves to be a funny take on Skeletor-type villains, and Keith Ferguson did an excellent job voicing him. Anyway, those are my picks. Let me know in the comments who your favorite Disney television animation villains are, and I'll see you next time.